So, if I can be honest, you guys, I am struggling to believe what God has told me many moons ago. And through my terms of struggling, I realized that it really boils down to if I believe and have faith in what God can do in my life, that He doesn't make mistakes. Because there's many times where I'm like, Lord, me, you're talking to me, like you talking to me.
Okay.
But hopefully through this kind of this video that we're gonna do today, through my kind of candidness about how I feel when I struggle in living in the spirit and not the flesh. Hopefully that can help you guys. So without further ado, let's get started. Hi everyone, my name is Shannon Marie and welcome to Storehouse Productions. In today's video, I want to talk to you guys candidly about how I am struggling to believe in a promise God has promised me many moons ago, and how I can give you guys 3 tips, which I am currently struggling in. But they do work. I promise you, they do work. Um, but yeah, without further ado, let's get it started. So, tip number one, when you're really struggling with relying and trusting that God has given you guys the promise that it will be fulfilled in your life, I realize that for tip number one, it is to get out of your own way because it's not about you. I am currently struggling right now because a lot of times when I'm trying to write these different stories that the Lord has put on my heart to write, I look back at it and I'm so critical of myself, and I'm like, oh, I could have been better. That's stupid. Why would you think that way? Let's change it and do this. Let's change it to do that. Let's ba 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 ba. And then even when I'm doing these videos, I get nervous. Like I told you in one earlier video, is sometimes I get tongue tied and tongue twisted. And so when I rewatch these little clips back, I look at it and I'm just like, oh man, Shayna, like you fumbled on that word, or you knew you wanted to say that, but you didn't say that, or ba 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 ba. And I have to tell myself sometimes, I've told myself that a few times while making this video for you guys, is that I need to get out of my own way. It is not about me. It is not about what I do. I pray all the time that the Lord speak through me. And I have to realize that I am saying this how God wants me to say it. And that's all I can do. I pray that the Lord speaks through me. And if I'm saying something, I'm praying and I'm hoping that I'm delivering it in a way that might touch the right people, that the Lord wants to touch through these videos. And so, getting out of my own way and trusting that God knows what He's doing, more than I know what I'm doing. It helps me to understand that living in my spirit is the way to go. And what I mean by living in the spirit is living on the finished works of Jesus Christ, that Jesus died on the cross so that we can live in a life of freedom, and a life of freedom in terms of fulfilling the will of God in our life. And so when I am living in the flesh, which is living in self effort, self worth, I start to feel a little strife when I'm really trying to live in the spirit. And I'm like, why isn't the spirit working for me, Lord? Like, why am I having issues listening to you? Or why am I so critical? Or why don't I see the vision come to pass? And a lot of times I realize that I am living in the flesh, really, and not living in and trusting God and knowing that it's not about me. I think a great Bible verses and Bible stories that can really help us out with that is definitely Abraham and Sarah. God promised them that the blessing will flow through them through the child that they would have together. And because of their old age, especially Sarah was like, I'm an old woman, you're an old man. Like, I'm definitely not like having a baby. Putting self effort, believing that, she knew better than God. She decided, with the acceptance of Abraham, to have him have a baby with her slave woman, and they created a baby created out of the flesh. And things that are created out of the flesh or self effort really give you more issues and more headaches than you anticipate. And so, hopefully, uh, I remember, and that you guys remember that when God is promising you something, don't look at what you can't do, because God can do more than what you ever can dream and ever can imagine. And get out your way, because it's not about you. It's about something bigger. So the next lesson that I have, or the next tip that I have, is that there will be lessons that you need to learn on the journey. When I sit back and I think about, Lord, you said something to me when I was a young girl, and here I am, a woman now, and it still really hasn't come to pass. Like, I see bits and fragments of where it could be manifested, but I still struggle to see that that's exactly the dream. You know what I mean? It's in the ballpark, but it's not it. And when I look at the time in my life, and the different ways I had to get here, I'm not gonna lie. When the Lord would take me to different things, like I'm over here, and then I'm over there, and then I'm over there, and then I'm back up here, da, 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 da. Like, I'm all in these different places, and I feels all over the place. But I had to realize that the Lord is taking me through these different journeys because there's lessons I needed to learn. I remember being in situations and understanding that there were lessons that I had to learn about myself. There were lessons where I had to uh, thicken my skin a little bit while still trying to maintain the fun, bright, sunny Shayna, but also being like, you're bugging. But and so I realized that the ways that God was taking me, though I couldn't appreciate it at the time, is that I was learning different lessons to help me get to the promise that He had in my life. And then I think about the story of Joseph, in the Old Testament, where God showed him a vision of what his future would be. And then he got thrusted in a journey, which, of course, nobody would opt for. Nobody would opt for, like, yeah, put me in slavery, or yeah, put me in jail. But it was through those places that God allowed him to go through to help him um, build the skills. I'd like to imagine that when he was at Potiphar's house and the Lord gave him so much favor that Potiphar understood and know and saw that everything that Joseph did, he was blessed to have favor in it. And so in turn, Potiphar allowed Joseph to be in control of everything in his house except for his wife. And I like to think that that was a skill that Joseph had to learn so that when he became, the right hand man for Pharaoh and running Egypt, he understood and learned the lessons that he did at Potiphar's house, or even the lessons, because the same thing happened to him in jail. And so, also, too, that's a great, when you can learn how to manage the highest of men and the lowest of men, and that kind of range Joseph had. He learned through the journey, and so I'm trying to realize that even though it's taken longer, the promise that God has put on my life longer than I would have liked it to be, I'm learning to understand that I am learning lessons through that, but I'm also learning patience, and a great connection with God. And so hopefully, you guys can understand that through the journey, you're learning how to get to the promise. And then my last tip I have to share with you guys is to oh so my last tip I have with you guys, again, if you're struggling with um, living in the spirit, especially when God has promised you something and you're like, oh, I don't really know, it's not really happening as fast as I want it to be, is to understand and know that God is with you. That is a big indicator for me in my life, to understand when I'm on the right track, is understanding and seeing that God is with me. One of my favorite Bible verses, or cluster of verses to read, is 1 Kings 19, when the prophet Elijah is running for his life, and he winds up in the wilderness, and just how much like God takes care of Elijah, through sending his angels to feed him food, and as he is experiencing um, fires in the wilderness and earthquakes in the wilderness. The Bible makes it plain and makes it known that God wasn't in any of those things, but God was with him. And even when, like, he find, or Elijah is in the mountain, in like a little cave in the mountain, the Lord asked, like, why are you here? Like, what's going on? And so I really appreciate that with God, is that he has like a master plan for all of our lives. And it can be hard to trust him, because a lot of times, I mean, he will just give you something, or he'll give you a glimpse of what the promises that he has for your life, but he doesn't tell you what you're gonna go through, and the tears that you cry, and the heartbreaks that you feel, and the loneliness that you would feel. But he always, at least for me, and I'm praying you could realize that too, is God always shows up for my life, and he always lets me see that he's here, like he's here with me, like through a feeling, through peace, because Jesus left us his peace. And so even when I'm in the midst of my own wilderness, I feel a real peace in it. And that's how I know, I'm like, okay, Lord, I can trust that I'm where I need to be, because you said that you will never leave or forsake me. And I thank God for really being so patient with me, and holding my hand, but also like pushing me out there, taking the training wheels off and pushing me out there. Like he knows just what to do, like a good father is, to help me be the best person I can be, because he'll hold my hand when I need it, but then he'll also tell me there's no crying in baseball.
That is a good movie,
so,
though.
so that's just three tips that I hope that you guys can take with you guys, or you can take in your life. And if you struggle with trying to live in the spirit, which is we're living in that finished works of Jesus Christ, that we don't have to worry about our own self effort. We just trust in the Lord and know that He knows how to, take what little we have, and break it off abundantly, like the fish and the bread. And so I'm praying that you guys overcome it. But if you're like me right now and you're currently in that wilderness, that you can see that God is with you, that it's not about you, and that, you know, there's lessons in where you are right now in life. So I hope that has helped you. And until the next video, I'll see you then.